My grandfather was a lawyer. He was a professor of Roman law, and my father had read law at university and then changed to be an economist. So there were lawyers in the family, and I suppose I thought it might be a career for me, but I can't say that I was passionately interested in being a lawyer. In the end, I think I became a lawyer because it was something I could do as a professional job that would be interesting and rewarding, and in the end that's what it's proved to be. I went to University College London. I don't think I would necessarily recommend that again, because being at university in London, not much fun. And I had a personal tragedy, and my father died the day after I got my A-level results. And in retrospect, I probably should have taken a year out. It was such a shocking event, and the first bereavement of my life. And yeah, I don't think you ever really get over sudden death like that. He literally walked out the door and dropped dead. And but it's a carpe diem moment as well. And it makes you able to empathise with other people who go through bereavements. And, you know, in the end, you turn it to good use. But I didn't particularly enjoy university. I was quite lonely, I think. I'd like to say that I had a clear career plan, as the young do these days, when they seem to go doing work experience from the age of 16 onwards. I was completely dozy about the whole thing. And in fact, I'd spent the summer with an American boyfriend before I went to law college. And I arrived there on the first day, and he asked me whether I'd got my articles sorted out. And I barely knew what articles were. I was completely on another planet. And so he told me that, you know, the hardest articles to get were city articles, and after that the West End, and then after that out in the provinces. And that you just had to write lots of letters and send a CV. So I wrote about 40 letters and sent CVs. And I didn't really have very high hopes of getting city articles because I hadn't been to Oxbridge, I wasn't a bloke, and I hadn't been privately educated. And I thought there was very little chance that I would end up in a city law firm. Anyway, I did have quite a lot of interviews. I have to say, at one of them, I was interviewed by two men at the end of their day, and they really flirted non-stop for about 45 minutes. And at the end of it, they offered me the training contract, or articles as it was then called. At Herbert Smith, I was interviewed by a couple of partners who were smoking cigars throughout, so I literally couldn't see them through the smoke. But they asked me all about my long essay at university and were interested in my degree. And so I chose to go to them. I decided the year after I qualified that I didn't really want a city career. I wanted to be a lawyer with people contact and looking after private clients, I suppose. And I suppose that reflects back to my lack of attention to what sort of articles I wanted at the time. And so I went and sort of effectively retrained in some private client firms and did some training in trust law. I still remember the day I went back to work after 15 months, walking down the hill to the tube with some decent clothes on and a bit of makeup, thinking, yes, bye. Such a release. And so I went back to work, and then I had my daughter, and I went back to work with her when she was 4 months old, and that was the reverse. That was terrible. I hated leaving her. She was too little. I was still feeding her, and it was sort of like being in the middle of this passionate affair and having to go to work. You know, I just didn't really want to be anywhere else, and that was hard. The marriage to the musician didn't last. He was a lovely father, and he was at home with the children quite a bit, which was good. But he was not really a grown-up, and so we divorced very amicably. And he's still a great friend, and he's still a great father. But it meant that I had to support the children, which was in many ways a good thing. It absolutely made me work and made me realise that I had to support the children. I didn't work full-time until they were probably maybe early secondary school age, something like that. And I worked 3 days, then 4 days, then 4.5 days. And I would desperately protect my Friday afternoon because I would pick them up from school and we would have Friday sweets day. The big struggle, I think, for women is becoming, as solicitors, is to become an equity partner. And, you know, I think it's still the case that men, it's very much a closed shop. They protect their money and their power, and they control it, and they make sure that the women don't get it in many, many firms. And they really guard it jealously. They feel challenged by it. They love having women working for them and doing all the detail and the boring stuff. But actually, when it comes to sharing the profits of that, really bad. And when it got to 2004, and I was sort of wanting to be promoted, I think I was the second or third highest biller in the firm. They offered me equity right at the bottom of the ladder. And in bad years, that meant you got paid less than the salary partner. So I remember a conversation with the managing partner when I said, I pointed to one of the really underperforming corporate partners who had billed about a quarter of what I had billed. And I said, look, I don't mind being paid the same as you, but I really don't want to be paid less than him. And this chap said to me, so don't you think we should be kind and gentle to him? And I thought, and said to him, well, what about me? I mean, I was a single parent then. And, you know, he had 4 children at public school. And that was the basis upon which he was proceeding. And honestly, he looked at me as though I was Medusa. He looked at me as though, like, why would we want to be kind and gentle to you? You know, you're a woman, let's face it, you know, what do you need? And so 4 months later, I resigned and went to another firm where I'd been promised equity, which of course I didn't get. And they put me on gardening leave, literally summoned me to a room and threw me out of the building with my stuff in plastic bags. And none of the 7 men who previously had left the firm had that happen to them. And it was just disgraceful. It took me I still find it traumatic thinking about it. So in the end, I left the city and I joined a firm in Lincoln's Inn, where there are 8 partners. Probably when I joined them was 6 partners, 3 women, and we're all equity partners. We all share the profits, the ups and the downs. We run our own business. It's very lightly managed. We have a lot of women assistants and women trainees, in fact mostly women because of the nature of the work we do. That seems to attract a lot of women. And none of the stuff that I encountered in other larger city firms has been a problem for me because of course we own and run our own business. And it's definitely the way to go, I think, for women. I think smaller firms work better for them. My advice to them would be, don't find a job where you never see your children. It's not like you get another set when you're 55, is it? They are the only children you will have. Lots of the men go off and have another set, but you won't. They're the only ones you will have. And they, certainly for me and my life, have been the most important part of it.